All right, we're recording in three, two, and one.
Dun 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 dun.
Welcome to episode 217 of Nerdery Murdery.
Big 217. I'm Sig with your nerdery.
And I'm Jeffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. A few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago now, I guess it was now, I got to volunteer in the South Texas Junior Golf Classic. That was a really cool event. They have been holding this every year since 1982, and
Mm-hmm.
it's God, I think the ranges of kids range from 8 to 18. Um, yeah, because you can do your last tournament at 18. And they were so fun to watch. I drove around just handing them cool towels to cool off. 'Cause, I mean, it was hot. It was hot. The weather down here hasn't been bad. It's hot, but it certainly hasn't been the blazing hot summer that we're used to down here. Um, I'm probably getting too much sun down here. Um, but it was a nice weekend. Had a nice breeze coming through, but I went around passing out towels to these kids. They could kind of cool off a little bit, make sure they were well hydrated. But they were so cool to watch. And the fact that this tournament has been going on since 1982 is wild. Um, the the guy who really runs the whole thing is someone I know down here, and asked us if we wanted to volunteer. We're like, yeah, we'll do this, and just really cool to watch these kids. It was a lot of fun. I'll be volunteering again next year and in future
Nice.
years because it was so much fun. Um, I just finished Tulsa King, season two, three, two, two. I think it's season two, waiting on season three to come out. Tulsa King has been very good. Taylor Sheridan does some good stuff. I guess I finally need to dive into Yellowstone, because I've liked everything else I've watched of his so far. Tulsa King is with Sylvester Stallone. Neil McDonough is in, or McDonough
McDonough.
is in season two, and I love him as an actor. He plays a great villain. And Two Geeks and
The
a
Tin
Microphone,
Man.
the Tin Man.
Yeah, he was the Tin Man and Tin Man.
Oh, huh. Okay. Um, Two Geeks and a Microphone just did an episode over season one of Tulsa King. Um, it's really good. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend it. Like I said, Sylvester Stallone is the main character in it. Plays a mafia guy who has just been released from 25 years in prison, and he is sent by the mafia to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to go make some money.
Heh.
And it's very cool. I really like it. Dana Delaney is in it. I like her as an actress. So check that out if you haven't checked it out, and check out Two Geeks and Microphone. They just, like I said, did an episode over season one of that. So you got anything for us? Are you ready to step into the nerdy side of the house?
Yeah, I was kind of wanted to talk about some James Bond.
Groovy, let's do it.
Okay, so this was actually Jeffrey's idea. We kind of got this together. Top James Bond, our favorite James Bond films, and our favorite James Bond songs.
Cool.
Because each one has its own song. The first one is the songs. Just because that's how the way I wrote it up originally. So the first episode is about the songs. Um, I believe this is Jeffrey's. It is "You Know My Name" by
Mm-hmm.
Chris Cornell for
Mm-hmm.
Casino Royale.
Mm-hmm.
It's the theme song of the 2006 James Bond film Casino Royale, performed by American musician Chris Cornell, who wrote and produced it jointly with David Arnold, the film's composer. The track was leaked onto the internet on September 20th, 2006, and later released as an official single on November 13th, 2006 through Interscope Records. It was not included on the Casino Royale soundtrack, but appeared on Cornell's 2007 second solo album, Carry On. The film's producers chose Cornell because they wanted a strong male singer. Chris Cornell's a pretty strong male singer.
Mm-hmm.
Cornell and Arnold tried to make the song a replacement theme for the character instead of the James Bond theme, reflecting the agent's inexperience in Casino Royale, as well as an introduction to Daniel Craig's grittier and more emotional portrayal of James Bond. It was a hit throughout Europe, reaching top 10 in 8 countries, including number 7 on the UK singles charts. It sold 148,000 copies in 2006 in the UK, and it sold 323,000 digital copies and garnered 3.5 million streams in the US as of 2017. Reviews of the song were positive. It won a Satellite Award for Best Original Song and a World Soundtrack Award for Best Original Song, written directly for a film. It was nominated for a Grammy Award and
So
other. Yeah.
so let me say this about that. One of the things about James Bond's songs that I've always appreciated, and I'm trying to find the artist for this one song, um, that you see a very common theme with the James Bond songs is they sound very James Bond. There's one that'll come up in the list later that I think is, and I don't want to spoil it. I'll wait till we get there. That I think is just the ultimate James Bond sound. But the James Bond songs all just carry a certain tone, and the way the song does. At least the best of them do. There's some that I think are pretty crappy songs. Um, but this one, Chris Cornell, I think really embodied the James Bond.
It was almost like he was trying to do it like Shirley Bassey would do, which who did a bunch of
Right,
the early ones. He was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna try to do it like Shirley Bassey. If I were Shirley Bassey, how would I do this? And
exactly.
that's kind of what he did. And I love
So
her stuff.
so this is not a James Bond song, but listen to this particular song I'm about to say. It was actually used in The Mayor of Kingstown, and I heard the song, and I'm like, oh my God, this should be a James Bond song. But unfortunately, it's been used in The Mayor of Kingstown, so I know it'll never be used. But the song is called "The End" by J Blond. It's Jpolnd. The End. It's very James Bondish. And that's the sound. When you talk about what makes a great James Bond song, it's just that sound, it's the tone, it's the way it's done. And You Know My Name by Chris Cornell, I think really, really embodied that. So that's why I had this in the list.
The next one is For Your Eyes Only by Sheena Easton. It is a 1981 theme of the 12th James Bond movie of the same name, written by Bill Conti and Mick Leeson and performed by Scottish singer Sheena Easton for the accompanying soundtrack album. The song reached number 4 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 and number 8 on the UK singles charts. It was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song in the 54th Academy Awards, a Golden Globe Award for the Best Original Song, and a 39th Golden Globe Awards in 1982. The background on this one is Bill Conti, who was responsible for the film's For Your Eyes Only score, had originally written the song thinking about Donna Summer or Dusty Springfield. Uh, Singers he thought would fit the Bond style, the Shirley Bassey sound. I'm going to continue to refer to that because she did like 4 of them. So,
Mm-hmm.
United Artists suggested Sheena Easton, an up and coming singer who had recently scored a Billboard Hot 100 number 1 hit in America with Morning Train. Conti heard Easton's 1981 debut album, Take My Time, and felt unimpressed but decided to work with her in the song after meeting Easton in person. Mick Leeson's lyrics originally used For Your Eyes only as the final line, as the lyricist felt he could only use the phrase as a conclusion. After credit sequences, artist Maurice Binder complained about having to synchronize the unveiling of the title with it being said in the theme song. Conti decided to work with Leeson to write lyrics that opened with For Your Eyes Only. The U.S. band Blondie had previously been asked to write the title song, but it was rejected in favor of Conti's by the Bond producers. Blondie's recording of a completely different song, also called For Your Eyes Only, appears on their 1982 album, The Headhunter. Um, I think that's the same. I think that's the same album that has the Titus High on it. Houston is the only artist to date to be seen singing the theme song to a Bond movie during its opening titles. As Maurice Binder liked Easton's appearance and decided to add her to the credits. Her seductive appearance in these clips was, according to Roger Moore, sexier than any of the Bond girls, although Easton herself states that the filming process was very unglamorous. In particular, Binder had to attach Easton to a chair so she would be immobile during a take where the camera zooms in on the singer's lips. This was one of the few Bond themes not to have contribution by John Barry. The song was produced by Christopher Neal, who was Easton's regular producer at the time. It was released as a single in June of 1981, and this is for the 1981 movie For Your Eyes Only. What do you think about For Your Eyes Only?
It's a great song, and again, it's got the theme, it's got the sound. You hear it,
Yeah.
you hear these top songs, you hear it, and you think about James Bond. For Your Eyes
Mhm.
Only, you hear this, you're going to think whether you know it's a James Bond movie song or not. If you're a
Mhm.
James Bond fan, but you never saw For Your Eyes Only, you'll hear this and you'll think about James Bond.
They're like, oh yeah, this is definitely a James Bond song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Um, the next one is Moonraker by Shirley Bassey. Moonraker was the third of the three Bond films for which the theme song was performed by Shirley Bassey. She also did Goldfinger and Diamonds Are Forever. Frank Sinatra was considered for the vocals before Johnny Mathis was approached and offered the opportunity. Mathis was unhappy about the song and withdrew from the project, leaving the producers scrambling for a replacement. Paul Williams recorded an early version of the title theme with different lyrics that were not used in the final film. Kate Bush declined as she was due to
Really?
embark on her British The Tour of Life. So John Barry offered the song to Bassey just weeks before the release date. As a result, Bassey made the recordings at a very short notice and never regarded the song as her own, and she's never had the chance to perform it or to promote it first. Indeed, Bassey had seldom performed the songs live in comparison to other two Bond themes, Goldfinger and Diamonds Are Forever. The film used two versions of the title theme song, a ballad version heard on the main titles and a disco version for the end titles. Confusingly, the United Artists single release labeled the track on the 7 single as Moon Racker for the version used to close the film, Moon Raker in title for the track that opened the film. The song failed to make any real impact on the charts, which was partly attributed to Bassey's failure to promote the single. Because again, she didn't get toured or anything. And in November of 2024, La La Land Records released a limited expansion edition containing previously unreleased music. Um, so what do you think about Moonraker by Shirley Bassey?
So, um, it's a great song for what a lot of people consider a weaker James Bond installment.
This is my
Um,
favorite James Bond movie, by the way.
it's not my favorite. I do have a special place for James Bond because this was so, we have all these episodes about Doctor Who, who was your first
Mm-hmm.
Doctor. Roger Moore was my first James Bond because I saw Moonraker in the theaters. My mom took
Same,
me to see it. And so it's the first James Bond I ever saw.
same,
So
same.
so I didn't have the animosity about Roger Moore that a lot of people do because Roger Moore has the unfortunate. I don't think Roger Moore is a bad James Bond at all. I
No,
think Roger Moore has the unfortunate instance of following Sean Connery.
it's George
Um,
Lazenby had the same problem.
sure, sure.
And
And
honestly, to be honest, yes, Moonraker is my favorite. The best James Bond movie
wait,
is Her
okay,
Majesty's Secret Service.
and I disagree with that.
It
I
is
just
the best James Bond movie. George Lazenby was incredible in that film.
and I have a different one, but I will save that for next week. I
Yes.
have a different favorite, but Moonraker holds a special place for me
Yeah.
because it's the first one I ever saw, and I
Well, it
love
was
this.
all science fictiony too, and he
Yeah.
used
Oh
lots of
yeah.
gadgets.
Yeah. And I love gadgets. I love gadgets with my James Bond,
Exactly.
which is I think what makes it so good. But a lot of people considered it very cheesy. There are cheesier Roger Moore James Bonds than this one.
Yeah.
But this is a good one. I love it. It's a great song.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I kind of like that one. Yeah, I think it's nice. The next one is "No Time to Die" by Billie Eilish for "No Time to Die." In July of 2019, Dan Romer was announced as a composer for the film score. Oh yeah, also kids on the YouTube playlist, all of these songs are the opening credits. I was like, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. They're all the opening credits, so you get to catch them all. In July 29, Dan Romer was announced as a composer for the film score, having previously worked on karaoke Fukunyega's of Beast of No Nation and Maniac. Romer left the film due to creative differences. On November 29th, Hans Zimmer replaced Romer by January 2020. It is the first time in the Bond series history that a composer has been replaced during post production, and the second major personnel change for the film after Danny Boyle left as director. Steve Mazzaro produced the score while Johnny Marr played guitar. This is the reason why this song is incredible. Nobody plays like Johnny Marr. Nobody does what he does. You want it to sound like a 1980s Smith record? Just go call Johnny Marr. Can't nobody else do that shit. Um, London Voices provided the choral element to the soundtrack. The No Time to Die score album was set to be released through Decca Records on March 2020. It was delayed till October 1st of 2021 to coincide with the release of the film. In January 2020, Billie Eilish was announced as a performer of the film's theme soundtrack, with her brother Phineas O'Connell serving as co-writer, as well as the track's producer of the song, which has the same title, was released on February 13th, 2020. At the age of 18, Eilish is the youngest artist to record a James Bond theme song. Despite the film's delay, the song was nominated for and won the Grammy Awards for Best Song, which was, I think, the first time that happened. The 63rd Annual Grammy Awards. 6 months before the film's release date, because the song itself was released during the 2019 to 2020 eligibility period. The soundtrack contains references to two other tracks on the film: On Her Majesty's Secret Service, We Have All the Time in the World, featured in materia. It appears twice in the film instrumentally. Um, so what did you think about this one? The Billie
No Time to
Eilish
Die
one.
is very, very good. Um, Both the
Yeah, again,
movie
this
and
is
the
Johnny
song.
Marr's guitar. I'm gonna like it. Even if I don't
Yeah,
like the song, I'm gonna like the guitar work.
I mean, I'm not a big Billie Eilish fan. I really don't know that much about her. Um, but she did this song very, very well. She embodied the theme, the sound that is James Bond. Again, you hear this song, you know it's a James Bond song. That's
Yes.
pretty much the criteria right there.
Yep. Um, the next one is Nobody Does It Better by Carly Simon for The Spy Who Loved Me. Nobody Does It Better is a power ballad and theme song for the James Bond film The Spy Who Loved Me from 1977, composed by Marvin Hamlish, with lyrics by Carol Bayer Sager. The song was produced by Richard Perry and performed by Carly Simon. It was the first Bond theme song to be titled differently from the name of the film since Dr. No. Although the phrase "The Spy Who Loved Me" is included in the lyrics, the song was released as a single from the film's soundtrack album and became a major worldwide hit. Among the most successful Bond themes, the song spent 3 weeks at number 2 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100, kept out of the top spot by Debbie Boone's "You Light Up My Life." Oh my God, God, I hate that song. I hate that song so much. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Easy Listening chart, where it stayed for 7 weeks. This one is kind of an easy listening tune. Um, doesn't mean it's bad. Um,
Mm.
I'm not a huge fan of Carly Simon anyway. I just don't think she did very much, you know. But this is really good. It reached number 7 on the UK singles chart. The song received Academy Award and Golden Globe Award nominations. It didn't win. Um, it was received as or nominated as Song of the Year, and Simon was nominated for Best Pop Vocal Performances for a Female. In 2004, Nobody Does It Better was honored by the American Film Institute as the 67th greatest film soundtrack and part of their 100 Years series. In 2012, Rolling Stone ranked it as the third greatest James Bond theme song. Um, the song has been performed live by Celine Dion and Radiohead, whose lead singer Tom York called it the sexiest song ever written. Um, Nobody Does It Better is Carly Simon's longest charting hit, as well as the most successful hit of hers. She did not write herself. Her earlier hit, You're So Vain, spent 3 weeks at number 1. However, its chart run was 2 months shorter than that of Nobody Does It Better. Um, so what do you think about Nobody Does It Better?
It's again, and I'll go back to this time and time again. I'm going to repeat myself. Is Nobody Does It Better? Sounds like James Bond. I hear
Mm-hmm.
it. I think James Bond. And
Hmm.
it's not just, and it's not just the, somebody who's not a James Bond song or fan, they hear this song and they're like, "Oh, that's James Bond." No, no, no. It's more for you are familiar with James Bond, you like James Bond, you watch James Bond. The songs in this particular list are the ones that very much embody that you as a James Bond fan, as soon as you hear it, that's what you think about. You're going to think about that movie or about James Bond or about, your love for that genre. And this is a great song.
The next one is "Goldeneye" by Tina Turner. "Goldeneye" is a song written by Irish musician Bono and The Edge and performed by American singer Tina Turner. It served as the theme for the 1995 James Bond film "Goldeneye" and was included on its accompanying soundtrack album as well as Turner's 1996 album "Wildest Dreams." Produced by Nell Hooper and released as a single on November 6, 1995 by Virgin in the US and Parlophone in the UK. The track was a chart hit in Europe. It sold over 300,000 units in Germany, topped the Hungarian singles charts. Wow, they really like this tune in Europe. It reached top five in Austria, Finland, France, Italy, and Switzerland, as well as number 10 on the UK singles charts. So yeah, it was pretty big in Europe. I did not know that. Depeche Mode was initially approached in 1994 to sing the main title song for GoldenEye. They were just coming off the end of the devotional tour and could not meet the schedule. Instead, the producers got Tina Turner to agree to do the song. After being informed of Turner's involvement, Bono and the Edge of the Irish rock band U2 were next to join and agreed to write the song. The track was produced and mixed by British producer, remix composer Nell Hooper, best known for his work with Massive Attack, Madonna, UK, and Björk. The track reached number 10 in the US singles or UK singles charts and became a top five hit in several of the European countries. GoldenEye was first released on the original motion picture soundtrack, and the following year was included on Turner's album Wildest Dreams. Uh, the song was has been covered by Nicole Scherzinger for the 2010 remake of the GoldenEye 007 video game because they remade the video game because it was really popular on the N64. What do we think about GoldenEye?
It's Goldeneye is not my favorite on this list. It's a good song. It really is. And again, it embodies it. I think Goldeneye, the song, is is more popular because Goldeneye itself was a great movie.
Yeah,
A very
I
great
love
James
I
Bond.
loved Pierce Brosnan as James Bond.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Goldeneye was great. I loved Goldeneye, and I think this song benefits to how good the movie was.
Mhm.
Again, not my favorite in this list, but I do like the song.
The next one is "You Only Live Twice" by Nancy Sinatra. It is the theme song to the 1967 James Bond film of the same name from its accompanying soundtrack, and it was written by Leslie Presuse with music by veteran Bond film composer John Barry. His name comes up a lot here. It was performed by Nancy Sinatra, widely recognized for its striking opening bars, featuring simple two-bar theme and the high octaves of the violins and lush harmonies of the French horns. It's considered by some among the best Bond film songs. Shortly after Barry's production, Sinatra produced Lee Hazelwood's release a more guitar-based singles version. The song has been covered by many artists, including Shirley Bassey, Soft Cell, Björk, and Coldplay. And in 1998, Robbie Williams re-recorded portions of the song, including the opening strings, for use in his UK singles chart number one single, Millennium, from his album I've Been Expecting You. James Bond veteran John Barry returned to the franchise to produce the score for the 1967 installment You Only Live Twice. The lyrics were by Leslie Prescuse, who had previously co-written the song for Goldfinger, which had been performed by Shirley Bassey. An initial version of the song was performed by Julie Rogers and recorded with a 50 or 60 piece orchestra. However, this version was not used since Barry decided to rewrite and re-record the song. It was usually the producer that said, "This isn't working. There's a certain something it needs," and the energy was off. And I think this is it. I think this is what you're talking about. John Barry heard this recording by Julie Rogers and went, "This isn't James Bond enough."
Correct. Yep.
That
Yep.
is exactly what happened here.
Yep. You know
Um,
why? Because I'm awesome.
the film's producer, Cubby Broccoli, wanted his friend Frank Sinatra to perform the song. Frank suggested they use his daughter Nancy instead. Barry wanted to use Aretha Franklin, but the producers insisted that he use Nancy Sinatra. Um, And she was, at the time, she had just released These Boots Are Made for Walking, and it was pretty popular. The final version featured in the film's opening title sequence are on the soundtrack LP in the key of B and as a single vocals track. The song was recorded with her 60-piece orchestra on the 2nd of May 1967 at the CTS studio in Bayswater, London. Kids, if you're ever going to stay in the city, the nicest and cheapest hotels are in that neighborhood. If you're ever going to stay in London, it's right there and it's right across the street behind Park. Just say it. Um, it's awesome. Bayswater is great, and it's surrounded by trees. Um, John Barry eventually created the final version and incorporated vocals from 25 takes. Man, she was in there longer. There's a longer mix was used for the end titles and incorporated different vocal takes into place. What do you think about this one?
This is a really good one. I mean, you really kind of hit all the points on it. They needed the sound.
Yeah.
They needed the previous versions were not creating that James Bond sound. And this embodied it. So,
Mhm.
great song, high on the list.
High on the list. The next one is Live and Let Die by Wings. Live and Let Die is the theme song to the 1973 James Bond film of the same name and its accompanying soundtrack album performed by the British American rock band Wings. Written by English musician Paul McCartney and his wife Linda McCartney, it reunited McCartney with former Beatles producer George Martin, who produced the song and arranged for orchestra. McCartney was contacted to write the song by the film's producer Harry Saltzman and Albert P. Broccoli before the screenplay was finished. Wings recorded Live and Let Die during a session for Red Rose Speedway. In, Sessions for Red Rose Speedway in October 1972 at the AIR Studios. It was also the first rock song to open a Bond film. Another version by BJ Arnau also appears in the film. Upon release, Live and Let Die was the most successful Bond theme up to that point, reaching number one on two of the three major U.S. charts and number nine in the UK singles charts. The song also received positive reviews from music critics, continue to be praised as one of McCartney's best songs. It became the first Bond theme song to be nominated for Academy Award for Best Original Song, but ultimately lost the award to Barbra Streisand's The Way We Were. I can see that. Way We Were is pretty fucking good. Wings performed Live and Let Die live during their concert tours, and McCartney continued to play it on his solo tours, often using pyrotechnics during the instrumental breaks. It has been covered by several bands, including Guns N' Roses, whose version appears on their 1991 album, Use Your Illusion 1. I love their version of it. It's really good. Um, that version was nominated for a Grammy. Even before Tom Mankiewicz had finished writing the screenplay to Live and Let Die, producers Saltzman and Broccoli invited Paul McCartney to write the theme song. Originally, Saltzman was interested in Shirley Bassey or Thelma Houston to perform it instead of Wings, but producer George Martin said McCartney would allow the song to be used in the movie only if Wings was able to perform the song with him. And they were like, yeah, okay. But they went ahead and recorded that BJ Arnau version, which they ended up using at the end of the movie. So you kind of get the rock version, and then you get kind of the more orchestrated version at the end. So they were hedging their bets. What do you think about Live and Let Die?
There are a lot of people out there that will tell you this is the best James Bond song.
There
I
are a lot
just,
of people
I,
who will say that.
yeah, I disagree with that. It's a great song.
Uh huh.
Um, and on the,
And it does sound Bond. It
oh
does.
gosh, yes.
It
Oh,
has a Bond
absolutely.
sound to it.
My favorite part of this song, and I don't know if I'm using the terminology right or not. I am not a audio engineer, but that driving tuba in the
Yeah.
song, that
Yes.
live and let die, bam,
Boom.
bam.
Boom. Yeah. It sounds
Yes,
like a rocket going off.
yes, that
Yeah.
is so awesome
Live
in
and
this
let
song.
die. Oh,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah.
when those tubas come in on that part, it's just amazing. What a great song. Paul McCartney did a phenomenal job with this. And it, 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 uh, as I said, a lot of people will consider this the number one
Yeah.
James Bond song. I do not, but I think it's great. I think it's in the top three or top two.
Top three or top two? Okie dokie.
Yes, it's that high. I would. I would either say it's one of the top two or one of the top three, but definitely up there. This is one that, again, it embodies James Bond, and the song is phenomenal, phenomenal.
The next song is Goldfinger by Shirley Bassey, or as Shirley Bassey likes to sing,
Finger.
Goldfinger. I love the way she does that. It's the title from the 1964 James Bond film of the same name, composed by John Barry again, with lyrics by Leslie Bricusse and Anthony Newley, and the song was performed by Shirley Bassey for the film's opening and closing titles, as well as the soundtrack album release. The single released on the song gave Bassey her only Billboard Hot 100 Top 40 hit, peaking at top 10 and number 8 and number 2 for 4 weeks in the adult contemporary charts, and in the United Kingdom, singles reached number 21 in the UK singles charts. So she had what, top 10, top 8, and number 2 in Billboard Hot 100 adult contemporary and singles charts, and then in the UK singles charts as well. The song finished at number 53 in AFI's 100 Years of 100 Songs survey of top tunes for American cinema. In 2008, the single was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. One source of inspiration was the song Mac the Knife, which Goldfinger director Guy Hamilton showed composer John Barry. I think it was a gritty and rough song that could be a good model for what the film required. Lyricist Leslie Bricusse, sorry, and Anthony Newley were not shown any film footage or script excerpts, but were advised of the fatal gilding suffered by Jill Masterson character played by Shirley Eaton. Bricusse later recalled that once he and Newley hit upon utilizing the Midas touch in the lyric, the pattern of the song became evident and the lyrics were completed within a couple of days at the most. The first recording of Goldfinger was made by Newley on. Oh, so Newley himself made a demo of it with Barry as conductor, were produced two completed takes. Barry recalled that Newley gave a very creepy performance, which Barry considered really, really good or terrific. Newley's recording, however, was made purely as a demo of the film's makers. According to Barry, Newley didn't want to sing in the movie as they thought the song was a bit weird. Shirley Bassey was basically given this tape, says, hey, this is our vocal take on this. Listen to it. Uh, and she was Barry's first choice to record it. He had been the conductor on Bassey's national tour in December of '63, and the two had also been romantically involved. Barry had played Bassey as an instrumental track on the song before its lyrics were written. The singer recalled that hearing the track and giving her goosebumps. She agreed to sing the song with whatever the lyrics might eventually be. Bassey recorded the track on 20th of August 1964 at London CTS Studios in Wembley. Again, George Martin was a producer, overseen by Barry, Vic Flynn. Okay, there were two other major musicians that went on to have big careers who were also part of the production team. You had Barry, you had George Martin, you had Jimmy Page, and John Paul Jones. And Big Jim Sullivan were also said to have been in the session. So, part of Led Zeppelin and the last incarnation of the Yardbirds also played on this song. So, there's that. Um, what do you think about Goldfinger?
Um, I like Goldfinger because it's a definitive James Bond song.
Mhm.
Um, Shirley Bassey has a very unique voice in the song, as we had both attempted to sing earlier very poorly.
Goldfinger.
Goldfinger.
It's you know what?
Um,
It's Shirley Bassey's accent. Shirley Bassey is a native Welsh speaker, so
yeah.
she speaks with a heavy Welsh or Cymry accent.
Um, I, this song goes lower in my list just because her accent is a little off-putting to me. But it's very James Bond. It's
Yeah.
it's it's
Oh yeah.
very, very James Bond. So I mean that's why it goes in the list
Is
because
is Goldfinger the James Bondiest in this list?
probably. Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
No, no, no. I'm sorry. No. It's if you want to rate them as James Bondiest,
Mhm.
this one is number two for me.
Okay. Have
It's
we
it
talked about number one yet?
we have not.
Okay.
But this is a very definitive James Bond song.
Yeah.
It's good in its own right because it is James Bond. And again, you hear this song, you will think of James Bond if you are a James Bond fan. So there
Yeah.
you go.
The next song is Skyfall by Adele. Skyfall is a song recorded by British singer Adele for the James Bond film of the same name. It was written by Adele and produced by Paul Epworth. It features orchestration by J.A.C. Redford and Aeon Productions. Invited the singer to work on the theme song in early 2011, a task that Adele accepted after reading the film's script. While composing the song, Adele and Epworth aimed to capture the mood and style of the other Bond themes, including dark and moody lyrics descriptive of the film's plot. Skyfall was released uh, on October 5th, 2012, at 12 okay. British use their time in 24-hour clocks, right? So they released it on October 5th, 2012 at 12:07 at midnight. So the it's 007. That's when they dropped it. So 007. And it was part of the Global James Bond Day, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the release of Dr. No, the first Aeon production James Bond film. Skyfall was praised for its lyrics, production, and Adele's vocals. It's Adele, of course it was, with numerous music critics and publications ranking it among the best Bond themes. I am glad they got her because Adele is definitively British.
Hmm.
And honestly, James Bond is definitively British. And sometimes we like to think of it as being American. It's not. It's English. It's an English production company. Yeah, they'll film over here every once in a while, but it's some British production. Um, and that's the thing I like about Daniel Craig's portrayal. He brought it back to being a little more British. Whereas I think Pierce Brosnan was less British, probably because he's actually Irish. um, Skyfall received various accolades, including the Academy Award for Best Original Song, Brit Award for British Singles, and the Grammy Award for Best Song Written for Visual Media, thus making the first Bond film to win all aforementioned awards. Um, during the 85th Academy Awards. In early 2011, Sony Pictures president of music, Leah Volak, suggested to the James Bond film producers at Aeon Productions that they ask Adele to record a theme song for the next Bond film, later revealed to be titled Skyfall. Adele had just released her second album, 21, admitted that initially she was a little hesitant about agreeing to a Bond film. On meeting with that Skyfall film crew, the singer had told Skyfall director Sam Mendes that she felt as though she was not the only person they were looking for because my songs and I are personally connected. And she writes from the heart. Mendes simply replied, "Just write a personal song," telling her to use Carly Simon's "Nobody Does It Better" from "The Spy Who Loved Me" as a jumping off point. Adele left the meeting with a script of Skyfall upon reading it and decided that it was a no-brainer, and she fell in love with the film's plot. She went home and she wrote it herself. Uh, so it took 18 months to complete the whole process, but she had it written pretty quickly after she went down and listened to the Carly Simon song. She with several awards. Producer Barbara Broccoli and Bond actor Daniel Craig, both of whom shed a tear. Adele stated that the final cut of the song lasted 2 studio sessions at Abbey Road Studios in London. Uh, no, it was after Adele underwent throat microsurgery for vocal problems. She recorded a demo for the track and sent it to Mendes. That was when it was played for Barbara Broccoli and Daniel Craig, and they both got a little weepy eyed upon hearing it. I could see why, because she'd just come off a surgery and she sang that motherfucker. Um, what do you think about Skyfall?
Number one,
This is
this
your number
is it.
one.
When I first saw Skyfall and heard this song, I was like, oh my God, this song is perfect. There is nothing that I could complain about this song. There's nothing I could criticize. It immediately makes me think of James Bond. Immediately makes me think of this movie. Um, and it's to me clear cut the number one James Bond song. I think it was perfect.
It's a good one. It's a
It
good one.
is.
It's
Yes.
a good one. And it's very Bondy. So you think this is
Yes.
more Bondy than Goldfinger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Again, I am only
and
tangentially a James Bond fan. I mean, I
right.
like some of it.
And when you and when you say more James Bondy, I would honestly put this as 1A, Goldfinger as 1B.
Okay.
They're right there with each other, but this one just edges it out
It edged it out a little bit. Yeah.
because everything about this song is perfect.
Yeah, it is a beautiful tune.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful tune. Well orchestrated. I'm glad that she ended up writing it herself.
Yeah.
Sam Mendes was right. It's like, dude, yeah, listen to Carly Simons, just write your own. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Um,
and with you saying that, I can really see that. I can see how she used that as the jump point. That's a pretty cool way to say that.
yeah, that's Sam Mendes, smart
Yeah.
dude. Of the last song on our list is A View to a Kill. This is a bit controversial. A lot of people do not think of this as a good Bond song. Uh, this is my favorite James Bond song. Uh, it is a song by English pop rock band Duran Duran, released on May 7th of 1985, written and recorded as the theme song for the James Bond film of the same name, and included on its accompanying soundtrack album. It became one of the band's biggest hits and is the only James Bond theme song to have reached #1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. It also made it #2 and 3 in the weeks the UK singles charts, which stuck behind Paul Hardcastle's 19. The song was the last track recorded by the most
Now
famous
I'm
five
hearing
members.
19 in my head.
Five-member lineup of Duran Duran until the reunion in 2001. So this is the last time you get all five of them. It was performed at Live Aid in Philadelphia in 1985 by the Five Piece. The following year, composer John Barry and Duran Duran were nominated for the Golden Globe Award for the Best Original Song and 43 Golden Globe Awards for A View to a Kill. Following Barry's death in 2011, the band paid tribute to him at their encore at the Coachella Festival later that year, with Simon Le Bon reappearing in a tuxedo for a pared down version backed by an orchestra before launching into the familiar full band hit version. Bassist John Taylor introduced the song by saying, "We lost a dear friend of ours this year, a great English composer, familiar to Hollywood. His name was John Barry. We're going to play this for him." The song was written by Duran Duran and John Barry and recorded at Maison Rouge Studios at CTS Studios in London with a 60-piece orchestra, again in Bayswater. Duran Duran were chosen to do the song after bassist John Taylor, a lifelong Bond fan, approached producer Cubby Broccoli at a party and somewhat drunkenly asked, "If I give you a fiver, can I write a theme tune, please?" The band was then introduced to Bond composer John Barry and also composer Jonathan Elias, with whom Duran Duran members would later work on with many times. An earlier writing meeting at Taylor's flat in Knightsbridge led to everyone getting drunk instead of composing. Singer Simon Le Bon said of Barry, he didn't really come up with any of the basic music ideas. He heard what we came up with and he put them in order. And he said that's why it happened so quick, because he was able to separate the good ideas from the bad ones and he arranged them. He was a great way of working, brilliant chord arrangement. He was working with us as virtually a sixth member of the group, but not really getting on our backs at all. So basically, he was like, "Yeah, yeah, what you're doing is fine. We're going to put it in this order. We're going to put a little bit of this sound here to make it a little more Bondy, and there you go." It did do really well. The B-side of the single was an instrumental piece orchestrated by Barry with a flute solo by Susan Milan that incorporates the melody of the Duran Duran song titled "A View to a Kill," that fatal kiss, which appeared on the "A View to a Kill" soundtrack album as Bond meets Stacy. What do you think about A View to a Kill?
So it's funny with A View to a Kill that because you had talked about that it's very controversial.
Uh huh.
Um, Chris Cornell's Casino, you know my name,
Uh huh.
is considered very controversial as well. But this one is, and it's funny because it's considered controversial on both fronts, and you'll hear two different ways. You will hear some people say that it's a terrible James Bond song,
Uh huh.
and you'll say others that say it's a great James Bond song. I happen to be towards the secondary camp that I think it's a very good James Bond song. I think it does embody the James Bond sound.
I
I
do
think it
too.
does sound very James Bond.
Not
I
as much as Skyfall or Goldfinger, though.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely
not
not.
as much as Live and Let Die, even.
No, no, absolutely not. I mean, this would go lower in the list, much lower in the list for me, but I think it belongs in a top 10 list for James Bond song. Whereas on the other side of the coin, there are people that love the movie and hate the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are some that think that A View to a Kill is one of the weakest James Bond movies. Um, I'm a little bit up there on that. I was never a fan of this one. I did not. You know what? I'm going to save it. I know it's in next
You
week's
We're going to be talking about it
yeah.
in the movie episode.
So let
Right
me
now, we're talking
let me
about theme
save that.
songs.
Yeah, I know. So
Again,
let me save that one.
this is my favorite James Bond song. I don't necessarily think it's the best one. It's just the one that I like the most.
Oh, it's a very
I
good
think,
song.
yeah, I
I
think you're right. I think as far as 1A and 1B go, is probably Goldfinger and Skyfall, followed very quickly by Live and Let Die, and then I think this one. But again, I'm only tangentially a fan of James Bond.
mhm.
I liked Roger Moore when he quit doing it. I kind of quit paying attention. I like Tim Dalton, but everybody hated Tim Dalton. It was like, dude, he's the most like the books. If you ever read the novels,
Mhm.
the spy thriller novels that these were all based on, Tim Dalton got it right. Nobody else did.
You know
Um,
that's funny. And a list we forgot, so I'll just bring it out here. You know that can take you into a whole list of rankings of James Bonds.
yeah,
Um, I do not think Roger Moore is not my favorite. I like Roger Moore a whole lot. Controversially, James Bond or Sean Connery is not my favorite. I think
yeah,
Sean Connery was great. I
he was
think he was
good.
brilliant.
I don't think he was good as Roger Moore. Roger Moore came off more like James Bond to me.
And that's what I thought too. And so many people are going to be angry at us for saying that. I mean,
Yeah,
true dream, really James Bond fans, there are a lot of people out there that hated Roger Moore. And I
yeah,
thought not only did I think he was brilliant as James Bond, I love the fact that he teased himself by being Roger Moore in
uh huh,
Cannonball
uh huh,
as, as the character Roger Moore
uh huh.
and that I
Dressed
thought,
as James Bond.
yes, that I thought was great. Um, but I think Daniel Craig took everything back up a level because I think the James Bonds were kind of going a little bit south.
Hmm.
I think Roger Craig brought it back up, and especially, like I said, Skyfall, brilliant.
Hmm.
I'm very interested to see who is going to be the next James Bond. I don't think that has been determined yet. I've seen so many rumors. One of them that I'm extremely interested in is
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would love for that to be the next James Bond because I think Idris Elba is
if they're gonna do
brilliant.
it, they need to do it quick. He's getting on up there.
Sean Connery did it when he was up there.
Yeah, that's true. So did Roger Moore. As a matter of fact, that's why Roger Moore quit. He's like, man, I am too old to be doing
Yeah,
this. It
yeah.
looks a little ridiculous.
Because
What was it?
it,
Octopussy? Was that the one? Or
I
was it
think
View to
so.
Kill? Was the last one?
Oh, Vito Kill was his last one. Vito Kill was his last one. I believe if I recall correctly, um, bleh, you only live twice. I think the story centered around James Bond coming out of retirement,
Yeah.
if I recall right. I think he was
Well,
like
I okay.
in a
Yeah,
retirement
I
home.
know that. Well, okay, so one of them, Sean Connery did like three or four or five, and then he quit, and they brought
Hmm.
in George Lazenby
Hmm.
again. Also, a dude I thought played James Bond very well,
Right.
but the story that he did was superior to anything that they'd done before or after. Just because that storyline is the best James Bond storyline.
Well, we'll get there because
Yeah.
that's next week. But
Yeah, but and then everybody kind of pissed. Everybody hated on him. A, he's Australian,
right,
and
right.
and B, he was a stuntman. It's like, dude, they got Sean Connery because, to quote Albert Broccoli, that dude walks like a panther. That's why they got George Lazenby, because they watched him walk out there. It was them staring out the window, watching him walk down the street that got him the job.
Well, it, but like I said, that brings us back to A View to a Kill. I think
Mhm.
A View to a Kill is a very very good James Bond song. It's not in my top three, top four. I think it's very good.
Mhm.
And again, I think it does embody the James Bond
It's James
sound.
Bondy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I hear
yeah.
James Bondy when I hear it. Not
And
again, not as much as Goldfinger, but you know.
and I don't know if it's legal for us to do it, so you may have to check the copyright. If we can put in the video for this song. It's brilliant because at the end, Simon Le Bon, he gets asked, "And what is your name?" And he says, "Le
Bond.
Bon,
Simon
Simon
Le
Le Bon,"
Bourbon.
and it's great. I love it. It's just it's cool. It's cool. So anyway, there you go.
Thank you, sir. Well, that does it for the top James Bond themes.
You bet. I love it. I was looking forward to this list because I am a very big James Bond fan. I'll go ahead and spoil next week just a little bit. The Daniel Craig movies are Casino Royale, Skyfall, Spectre, and No Time to Die. I think Spectre was horrible,
Oh
and
yeah,
I was offended with how horrible it was. It was boring.
that was the one with Javier Bardem, right?
No, that's Skyfall.
Okay,
Yeah, and Javier Bardem is a great James Bond villain. But we'll get there next week.
okay.
We're not going to talk about Spectre next week. It's not in the list. I think I thought it was terrible.
I didn't even
I
see it.
thought it was wasted. Don't waste your time.
I
And it
didn't. I of
pissed
course I
me
didn't.
off.
I didn't see Skyfall, or I watched part of Skyfall. I was like, this is kind of dull.
Oh
I thought
gosh,
Skyfall was
no.
kind of dull.
Gosh, no. Save that. Save that. Um, Spectre is dull, and I hate it because Blofeld is in Spectre. And I mean, that's such a major James
Stavros
Bond
Blofeld.
villain.
Yeah, I love Stavros
Such
Blofeld.
a major James Bond villain, and they fucked it up with Spectre. But so we'll get to those next week. I appreciate that. Can't wait to talk about the movies next week because, like I said, I am a big James Bond fan. I love James Bond. With that, we will step over to the nerdery side of the house.
Murder.
For this week, I got my information off Oxygen, ABC News, the U.S. Attorney's website, and NBC Washington. And this is the story of Jason Scott.
Jason Scott.
Jason Scott, and this one is a short one. We had quite a long with Bond, but it's kind of a short one. There was this group of men who were behind dozens of robberies in Prince George's County in Maryland, and one of them began murdering pairs of daughters and mothers. On January 26, 2009, 16-year-old Carissa Lofton called 911 from her home in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, which is about 20 miles southeast of Washington, D.C. And in a very chilling recording, as she was speaking to dispatchers, she said someone had shot her and her mother, 45-year-old nurse Karen Lofton. And Carissa calmly stated on the call, "Ma'am, I've been shot. Me and my mother have been shot. I'm bleeding to death." By the time authorities responded to the scene, both mother and daughter had died in execution style murders. The intruder neutralized the Lofton's home alarm system. Doors were locked and there was no sign of forced entry. Bernie Nelson and Tony Shartner, who were detectives with Prince George's County Police Department at the time, were on the case. Initially, there were few clues as to what happened to the Loftons, and with nothing missing from the home, the killings didn't appear to be linked to a string of robberies that had recently plagued the neighborhood. They were able to recover six spent shell casings belonging to a Glock 17 handgun that they found at the home, but there wasn't anything to indicate why someone would want to kill the single mom and her daughter. Investigators started canvassing the area, hoping they could get some help. And Nelson said, quote, "We did find out that just two doors down across the street, someone had seen a blue vehicle parked on the right side of the road." Um, Carissa's father, Kirkland Lofton of Atlanta, Georgia, was heartbroken over this. Carissa's older brother and Karen's son, Keon Lofton, who was 20 at the time and lived in the house where his sister were mom and killed, was asleep at his fiance's residence when the double homicide took place. He raced home after he heard what happened, but soon he became a person of interest in the case. Keon said, quote, "I was upset, like, you're not going to state it's me. I didn't have anything to do with it. You can do whatever you need to do. It's not going to be me." Police did question Keon, but his alibi checked out. And on March 16th, 2009, which was about 7 weeks after the Lofton murders, a woman called police to report she had come home to find her Nissan Maxima missing from her carport where it had been parked. She's, excuse me, She said that she saw someone speeding by with her Maxima while she was still on the line, and she said, "quote That's my car. Okay, it just zoomed past me. Wow." Later, authorities found the stolen car engulfed in flames in the driveway of a vacant home just 2 blocks from where the Loftons were killed. And inside the trunk were the burned bodies of 2 females, later identified as Dolores DeWitt, who was 42, and her 19-year-old daughter, Ebony DeWitt. According to Dolores' sister, Tricia Smith, Dolores was a mother of two who worked at a nursing home with the elderly, and they just loved her there. Ebony was described as the life of the party. Ebony's boyfriend told authorities that he had dropped her off at her house the night before her body was found and that she had worn her favorite blue sweater. Just like the Lofton double homicide, nothing appeared to be taken from the DeWitt home, which was less than a mile from the Lofton household. They did a postmortem examination, and it showed that both mother and daughter had been strangled to death and had died one day before their bodies were found. Detective Shartner said, quote, "We don't know if they were killed inside the house and transported away or if they were just transported and killed elsewhere. The fire had burned most of the evidence." Investigators were able to recover a pair of jeans found on Dolores's body and leaves from a beech tree inside the fabric, though no beech trees were found in the area. There were a few initial leads that helped detective that excuse me, there were few initial leads that were helping detectives solve either case that they did believe was connected. Then in July of 2009, things changed when agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Explosives arrested Jason Scott and another man on a stolen weapons charge.
Beech trees only grow in old growth forests.
It comes into play. It
Okay.
does come into play.
You said beech trees. I'm like, wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
You can't just like up and plant a bee. It won't survive. It has to have other trees around it.
Right.
Okay. All right. Cool. 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 Sorry.
Special agents John Cooney and David Cheplack were at the helm of the weapons-related investigation, but both Scott and the other man were eventually released. To the agent, Scott initially came across as a pipsqueak with no criminal history who barely spoke above a whisper. He was a college grad and a valued UPS employee. However, they hoped Scott would lead them to others involved in firearm crimes and agreed to grant him at least some immunity for his cooperation. So he provided agents with a 3-page list of 40 Prince George's County homes which he had helped burglarize. In some cases, he had woken up occupants with a gun pointed at their heads, and he selected the homes to be targeted, observed the targeted homes to assess the number of occupants and the vehicles present, checked addresses using internet searches and a database at the Landover UPS facility where he worked, cut phone lines to disable alarm systems, and gained entry through unlocked windows or by smashing glass windows and doors. Agent Agent Cooney said, quote, "At that point, we realized we were not dealing with a guy selling and stealing guns, but our investigation just took a drastic turn. They did search his home and turned up a treasure trove of home videos, proving that the suspect was one of the more extreme peeping Toms they had ever seen. Agent Cooney said the footage included, quote, video of someone walking through the woods, videotaping people through their homes in various states of dress and undress, and getting ready for work or getting ready for bed. One of Scott's alleged co-conspirators called Scott, quote, sensitive but, quote, crazy. He said Scott enjoyed stealing car keys from homes and returning at a later time to steal vehicles, and he often left them in the driveways of vacant homes. Police said that's what happened to the woman who reported her Nissan Maxima missing on the day the DeWitts were found murdered. The co-conspirator has remained unnamed, but told authorities of Scott, quote, "You got to watch how you talk to him." One of the videos seized from his home showed him assaulting a mother and teenage daughter. And according to Special Agent Cheplack, Scott positioned his camera in such a way as to film himself sexually assaulting the female. The phone fell, briefly catching Scott's masked face and showing what Cheplack called his, quote, cold, calculating eyes. But the most significant piece of the puzzle was found at a place Scott mentioned when he was questioned by agents about the weapons charges. He said that there was a place that he and his burglarizing friends would divvy up their gains, and it was called the Spooky House. The Spooky House was an empty Georgian mansion on the market, which was a brick home located in Upper Marlboro. There, investigators found the physical evidence they needed, including charred remains of a blue sweater, just like the one Ebony was wearing before she and her mom were killed, and jeans that matched the one by her mother. And according to Detective Shartner, the property also served as, quote, the jackpot of beech trees. There you go.
Mm,
Detective Murphy said once we saw that, we said, this is it. This is finally something. You're talking about a high five moment. So that's where, because you were talking about they can't grow solo. Absolutely not. It came from
no,
here, the
yeah.
Spooky House area. Marcus Hunter, who was not involved with the murders, agreed to cooperate with the agents, claiming that about a month before the DeWitt murders, the burglars were running through a few yards after committing a theft. Evidence showed that Scott committed approximately 25 residential burglaries with Marcus Hunter and occasionally used the vacant residential home on the 1100 block of Drumshew Lane in Upper Marlboro to divide stolen items with Hunter. Hunter said that Scott stopped and peered inside the DeWitt homes, staring at the 19-year-old Ebony, and Hunter also placed Scott near the Lofton home within the hour of the January 2009 murders. Furthermore, he claimed at some point Scott had a Glock 17, which was the gun used to kill Karen and Carissa. Homicide investigators looked at gun purchase records and located one gun owner, an individual who lived at an address provided on Scott's list of burglarized homes, who said he had stolen a Glock 17. Maryland law keeps ballistics evidence on any handguns sold in the state in the event that one is used in the commission of crime. So authorities determined that the stolen firearms matched the shell casings found at the London home. Hunter did confirm the break-in at the owner's residence, and Detective Nelson said, quote, as far as that handgun goes, I think that was the nail in Jason's coffin. We know he stole the weapon. On September 2nd, 2009, Scott was arrested at his home for murder. His case was also covered on Oxygen's One Deadly Mistake. Dolores' sister, Patricia Smith, was grateful that Detective Shartner kept a promise to find the person responsible for her sister and niece's death. He told her he would get the person responsible if it was the last thing he ever did. He did. Hunter, for his cooperation with investigators, was handed a 7-year sentence in connection with the weapons charges. As for Scott himself, since there was more than enough evidence to convict him in the DeWitt case, prosecutors didn't go after him for the Lofton murders. I don't understand that one. We've seen so many times where people get life sentence on top of life sentence on top of life sentence. So I'm not sure I understand this one, why they didn't.
Well,
But
okay, here's the thing. There's no statute of limitations on a murder.
there's not. No.
Yeah, they can always go and hang one on him, prosecute one on him later
Sure.
on if they need
Sure.
to. They knew they could get him on this one. They knew they could get a conviction out of this one, so that's why they did it.
And that may be what it is. Maybe they didn't think that there was enough to get him on the Lofton murders, but
Yeah.
he did end up getting sentenced to 100 years for the more than 50 burglaries and 9 armed home invasion robberies. And then he was sentenced to 85 years for the murders. So he got 185 years.
Time out for good behavior. He'll get out feet
Never.
first.
Yeah, never.
Yeah,
Never.
feet first.
Carissa's father, Kirkland Lofton, said, quote, we wanted a trial in this case because we wanted to see him on the stand, admit what he did, and be charged and convicted and sentenced for murder. Investigators say they have no doubt in their mind that Scott was also responsible for the Lofton family double homicide. Maybe he'll get tried for that again. I don't know.
Yeah,
They may just leave this one alone because, as you said, he is leaving that prison feet first. He's
feet
not getting
first.
out.
Yeah, he ain't getting
Um,
out.
so anyway, uh, that is my story for this week and the case of Jason Scott.
Thanks, sir.
I appreciate you sitting with me on that one. That will take us to the end of another recording week. Please do make sure you turn in next week for our second part of the James Bond. Boy, we're liking these little sequel episodes.
I know they're fun to do.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of, I'm gonna throw this out there. I love you.
Hmm.
You're my hetero life mate. You know this.
Yeah,
Um, wow, have I never said that live on the air before? I don't know.
yeah.
I
I
don't
think
know.
you have.
I,
Yeah, a
I
couple
tell my
times.
wife, I tell my wife all the time. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
Um, if you will accept my request,
Uh-huh.
because of how much I absolutely love this. Do me a part. Do me. Um, Get me another episode on Goth. I love it. I
You want
love it.
another goth episode?
Yes,
Okay.
dude, I
All right.
loved it.
I got
Find
you.
me
You
some
know
more.
what? I'm
Find
gonna
me some
I'm
more.
gonna I'm gonna get down deep.
Okay.
I'll get down
I
deep.
I gave you a couple of them. Uh, Dadgummit, Tear You Apart. That song is
She
Goth.
wants revenge.
She Wants Revenge. And Lydia, I think are two you should check out. Maybe those can be on the list too. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
no.
no, no, no. I mean, I am so glad that you like that because sometimes I'll throw it. Some to kids, sometimes I will put these lists together just to annoy him.
So, oh, I know the punk ones. Yeah, I
Yeah,
could do
I
without ever
see.
having
I
to listen to
love,
that again.
but again, yeah, like also the idea is when I say punk or goth, I don't. Not everybody's thinking the same thing when I'm saying this stuff.
No,
Yeah,
no, I was completely missed. I completely must misunderstood what
I'll
goth
put
music
a I'll
was.
put a Christian death song in the next list so you can see what I'm talking about. It's like, oh my god, this is terrible. This is awful, especially compared to all the really beautiful things that are going on
Don't give me a
around
song
it.
I'm gonna hate. You're a terrible person.
It's
Anyway,
for context. It is merely for context.
no, it's not. It's to piss me off. Oh, so yeah, so there you go. There's my request. I would love to get some more to add to my playlist because I love this stuff, and boy, when they come on, I crank it. I crank them.
Nice.
I love it. So anyway,
You should,
um,
you know what? You should just go get Floodland. Just get the album Floodland.
oh,
Just get it.
I've listened to a ton of Floodland. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know that was goth. I had no
No.
clue. Yeah, no, I've listened to a ton off that. So yeah, where was I? I lost myself. We
No.
are at the end of another recording week. There we
Yes,
go.
we are.
That'll take us to the end of yet another recording week. We appreciate all of you for staying on with us. We love providing this entertainment for our listeners. Get a lot of good comments about the show. I love talking about the show, and when people go, "That's a very intriguing concept."
Nobody else is doing it.
Nobody else is doing this. Um, so I mean, you get your nerd culture out there, you get your true crime. Nobody, to my knowledge, I've found nobody else that has mixed it like this. So
No.
we appreciate you staying with us. You can find more about us on nerderymerder.com, our website, our hub for everything that we talk about. You'll find links to what we talk about, pictures, as well as a link to our YouTube page, which so often updates.
Thank you. Yes, and definitely check out this one because you got all the opening credit songs. Just this is all of them. It's all of them. Just watch them. You
Awesome.
see all the opening credit.
Awesome. And hopefully by the time this episode is out, my book will be out. So you can find me there on jeffreyhwright.com. I do mention our podcast on that site as well. Um, but you know, please check out my book. Our Mr. Zig is working on a story of his own. I'm reading
Yeah.
along with it, so want to give him
Yeah.
a little shout out.
Oh, thank you.
Um, you know, I'm with him on that. When you got a story in your head and you got to get it out, you got to get it out. And so
Mhm.
I'm very happy for him that he's starting on that as well. So you can also find the link to our merchandise page on our website. If you wish to show off your nerdery murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from there. You'll also find the link to our Patreon site. If you wish to become a patron and help with the costs that are associated with with this show, our merchandise and our patrons help with that. And as a nice little bonus with our Patreon, you do get exclusive episodes. I think we have 25 or 26 out there as of the
Mhm.
recording of this episode. And then you also get all of our episodes as soon as we're done editing. We started off, we gave them out 2 weeks in advance, but now you're getting them literally within a
As soon
week,
as they drop in the box.
within a week or two after we've recorded it. So if you would rather stay more current to our current events, become a patron.
That's right. Please and
We do,
thank you.
please and thank you. Something you can do for free that only takes a couple minutes, doesn't cost you a dime. If you will, please give us a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the information we discuss. And as always, last but not least, my friend Chuck that I'm going golfing with here shortly. You can go sleep now.
Good night, Chuck.
Good night, Chuck. With that,
I have been Zig with your notary.
And I'm Jeffrey with the Murdering.
Cue the music.